Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Hello, welcome to World News. Thousands of people have protested outside Iceland's parliament after investments involving the country's prime minister were revealed in a massive leak of financial documents. The so-called Panama Papers have implicated prominent politicians from around the world and triggered investigations by global tax authorities. It's emerged that the legal firm at the centre of the leak had at least one client who was subject to international sanctions. Sky's Jonathan Samuels reports.
The fallout from the Panama Papers is being felt around the globe. In Reykjavik, the biggest crowd police can remember gathers outside Parliament. In what would be a major conflict of interest, it's alleged their Prime Minister and his wife have been linked to an offshore account.
I'm just protesting like the rest of the nation, it appears.
What are you protesting?
I would like the Prime Minister to resign.
Earlier, Sigmundur Gunnlaugsson walked out of a TV interview as he was questioned about the claims. He may be the leak's first scalp. Iceland is a long way from sun-drenched places like Panama, the Cayman Islands or Cyprus. Perfect for a holiday hideaway, but also somewhere to hide away your cash. In the biggest financial leak ever, it's alleged this legal firm in Panama worked with the world's rich to hide wealth and avoid tax in offshore havens. The company's boss denies any wrongdoing.
We
do not get involved with the activities of our companies, nor do we have any responsibility over what the company does. We sometimes don't know the owner of the company because we'll sell it on to a lawyer or a bank or a financial or a trust company. And it's this company, that customer, who's the final customer.
Amongst those exposed are world leaders, including the Ukrainian president, the King of Saudi Arabia, and the former Prime Minister of Iraq. Relatives, friends and associates of 16 other leaders are also alleged to have used offshore tax havens. They include members of Russian President Vladimir Putin's inner circle, accused of being involved in a £1.4 billion laundering ring. And David Cameron's late father is also named in the files, as he ran a network of legal offshore investment funds. 6 UK peers and 3 former MPs are also mentioned in the files, leaked to a German newspaper. The Prime Minister has promised to sweep away tax secrecy, but critics claim not enough has been done.
Too often it involves British administered territories being part of this game of money manipulation and avoidance of taxes around the world. And therefore I think we have a particular responsibility to step up and do something about it.
The files even mention how some of the cash from the 1983 Brinksmat gold bullion robbery was allegedly laundered using a company formed by Mossack Fonseca. It's information that's gold dust for fraud investigators.
If it's law enforcement who's investigating them, all that information has just been handed to them on a platter. So no more fighting to get it. It is the whole kit and caboodle. It's the king's ransom sort of handed to you.
A sunny place for shady people was how Monaco was once described, but it's a fitting description for other tax havens around the world, now blinking in the spotlight of global scrutiny. Jonathan Samuels, Sky News.
Well, the Panamanian law firm at the centre of the scandal has released a new statement in the last few hours. Our chief political correspondent John Craig has the details.
Mossack Fonseca have hit back with this 4-page statement rebutting, as they would see it, many of the allegations made against them. The 4-page statement begins by saying this: recent media reports have portrayed an inaccurate view of the services that we provide, and despite our efforts to correct the record, misrepresented the nature of our work and its role in global financial markets. These reports rely on supposition and stereotypes and play on the public's lack of familiarity with the work of firms like ours. It goes on to say that they're responsible members of the global financial and business community. They've operated beyond reproach, never been accused or charged with criminal wrongdoing, regret misuse of their services and have taken steps to prevent it. And on tax evasion and avoidance, they say, we don't offer solutions whose purpose is to hide unlawful acts such as tax evasion.
Well, the Panama leaks have revealed exactly how the world's rich and powerful hide their wealth offshore. Our economics editor Ed Conway has the details.
Well, let's start by explaining what tax havens are and how they work. So imagine for a moment you are a Russian oligarch or a South American politician. You've got lots of money to hide away. So what do you do with it? First of all, you put it inside a shell company, perhaps with some phony directors. Then you ensure that the company is established in a tax haven, which begs the question, what is a tax haven? Well, in short, it's a country, usually a small one, where taxes are low or non-existent, where it's easy to set up businesses. There are fewer checks and regulations on those businesses. There's far greater secrecy. And of course, it's up to the individual to declare the taxes in their own country. So where do you find these tax havens? Well, there are many in Central America and the Caribbean. Panama, most obviously, but also Belize, the British Virgin Islands, the Turks and Caicos Islands. There are others too. And then there are the more establishment places offshore in Europe. Switzerland, of course, the Swiss bank account famously, Jersey and the Channel Islands, and the Isle of Man. And in some senses, the UK itself is also, in a way, a tax haven with its own non-dom rules, meaning some people can live here without technically being domiciled here, giving them a number of tax advantages. But there have also been big clampdowns on secrecy around most of these jurisdictions, making it far more difficult to hide away money.
The crackdown on tax havens has been happening behind the scenes for years. It's been happening internationally at forums like the G20.
The challenge I'm laying down for every country today is to root out the rot of corruption, to ensure transparency over what your own companies are doing, require transparency for foreign companies in your country too, and work with us to spread this approach to transparency around the world.
And it's been happening on a national level here in the UK.
Let the message go out. This country's tolerance for those who will not pay their fair share of taxes has come to an end.
But while some countries, for instance the US, have been acting aggressively to clamp down on offshore havens, some think the UK isn't moving fast enough. Either way, it's taking longer than expected.
We have had measures brought in. The difficulty is actually implementing those. But of course, we don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes either. I mean, people's tax affairs are confidential. There will be discussions going on between corporates, multinationals and individuals with HMRC about how they're structuring their tax affairs, but we're not privy to those.
But there is some evidence that these measures are starting finally to work. Have a look at this chart. You can see that the number of companies, these shell companies, incorporated by Mossack Fonseca has fallen over the past 5 years. Just look at that fall, as the reputational damage that comes with tax havens becomes too toxic for most. In other words, some tax havens are already becoming less active. Finally, it's worth underlining the difference between tax avoidance and evasion. Tax avoidance is legal. Tax evasion, on the other hand, is illegally not paying taxes that you're bound to.